Once I've completed my session with my client, it's time for me to write my respective client note. In order to write your client note, you will need to be in the data collections application. I would end my session and then go over here to the far right to click on the table and scroll to the last icon that says session note. This is where I'll be redirected to the entirety of the session note and filling out all of the respective portions. I will go through each section in its entirety. The first part of your session notes will be all of your demographic information related to your client, such as their respective name, the insurance carrier, their diagnosis, date of birth, the time and date in which I'm writing this session for, as well as the appropriate insurance or session code. And in this particular instance, I'm writing a supervision note. If any of your information here is inaccurate, you need to go to Client 360 and ensure that you've clicked on the appropriate session schedule, as well as you have the right client in place for creating this note. In the next box, we have the session location, in which I'm presented with various drop downs in which I have to make the most accurate selection. The first question would like to know where was the location of the client during services, to which various options are provided. Then location of provider during services, to which we have an option of either being in person or telehealth or no client present. If the session did take place via telehealth, there is a drop-down option asking if the session was conducted through HIPAA-approved software. Next is your session participants, to which your name, as well as any other supervisors' names, would be listed here. And if you want to add in any other participants, you may. Then we have the overall session activities. Now, these sections may look different for you depending on your organization's development of their respective clinical notes. But for the most part, most Artemis session notes are built as follows, where we go through if there was any plans from the client notebook that were implemented during session, if there was pairing that was implemented during session, if there was manding implemented during session, if we had any intense table time, otherwise known as DTT, were there any challenging behaviors that occurred, any natural environment teaching opportunities that were implemented, did we have any functional goals? And as you can see at the bottom of every single goal, we are able to type in any sort of text that we would like that perhaps is not listed. Then we will scroll down to the session type. This is where we're provided with the instruction of please pick one or both options that accurately depict what occurred during the sessions. And both of these session types can occur within one session note, but must be clearly delineated the times of when each occurred. So if we had a supervision with the technician present, we would select it. And then we have the specific information here, what would encompass having a behavior technician present in order to bill 97155. If the technician was not present during this time, I would go ahead and note that a technician was not present, and it does have specific insurance information regarding how I can or can't bill for this session. Over here in the far right corner, it does ask me to select, does the supervision overlap with the technician? And then we have, please note the times for the protocol modification that did not overlap at all. So you again would be able to fill in this information. Then we have the overall session content. So this is where the feedback to the technician can be also included. This is any sort of information that you would like to put within the session that perhaps wasn't outlined above. So this is where all of your free spaces, where you're able to elaborate on any of the session content. Then we go to the clinical status section, where we are presented again with a slew of drop-down options to which we need to pick the most appropriate. So we have readiness for learning, in which we make a selection, environmental setting, were there any barriers to performance, were any progress towards goals that were made, and then was there a review for previous clinical information. So again, I won't go through each and every single choice that's there. The BCBA would need to provide the most accurate response, but this is a quick way for you to gather all the relevant information needed for your session note. Then we have the data that was collected during the session. And because I'm billing 97155, it does provide me with the drop-down box to determine what did I do within my session. And then based off of my response, it will modify my session summary. So once I get into my session summary, as you can see, some of this is already pre-populated with several drop-downs in order for me to select. So I will select the most appropriate response to my session summary and determine if this meets what was essentially outlined in our session. And again, as you can see, any other information can be included here in the free-form text box. Once your session note is fully complete, you will need your provider signature here. And then again, depending on organizational requirements, you may need a parent or guardian signature. Once you've gone ahead and provided this information, you simply hit save, and all of your information will be saved so that this session note has been completed.